Welcome to You Know Me, a podcast for Brunswick and the Golden Isles. I'm Buddha.
And I'm the G-Man.
And it's a Wednesday. We are kind of pre-recording, and it's midweek. And what best way to relax on hump day is to have a glass of wine.
That's right. It's been a actually pretty crazy week just for it ending up to be just a Wednesday.
It feels like tomorrow is supposed to be Friday. But if you're really interested in having a glass of wine, we have Brandon from Newcastle Wine Merchant here on Newcastle Street in Brunswick with us today. And we're going to talk about wine tasting, and all the other great businesses around here in Brunswick. So,
Yeah.
Brandon, why don't you introduce yourself real quick?
First of all, thanks Frank and G-Man for having me. I'm an avid podcast listener myself, and I've listened to the previous episodes. I think what you're doing is very important for downtown, and I really appreciate the quality of your podcast.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
So my name's Brandon Boudreau. I'm the owner and certified sommelier of Newcastle Wine Merchant in downtown Brunswick, across from Silver Bluff. I own a boutique wine shop, and just recently we just got approved to simultaneously also be a wine bar.
That's awesome.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's something that downtown needs. How has business been since you opened up?
So I don't know which angle I want to take for this question, but there's been quite an overpouring of support. And I'm actually, when I moved to the Golden Isles originally, actually moved to St. Simons and worked at Sea Island. So moving to Brunswick has been a new adventure for me. I've been down here for officially a year now in terms of my business. And when I first moved down here, even just a year ago, it's hard to imagine the landscape that is now Brunswick, even just 12 months ago. When I moved down here, it was, at least for me, it felt extremely like a leap of faith. I was not certain like where it would go. And as soon as we moved down here, it seemed like all at once a ton of businesses started pouring downtown. And pretty much in that 1 year, you had everything from the Cress opening, you had Schroeder's Market. I mean, there's countless businesses that are exceptional that all opened within the year around the same time that I did. So the timing was perfection.
Yeah. And I love, actually, I can see all the support actually from all the businesses. The other day you had, was it your 1 year anniversary outside?
Yes.
And Schroeder's was here, and they were slinging some pizzas. And I just love that cooperation that the businesses downtown have with each other.
Yeah, so Newcastle Wine Merchant, a really integral part of our business strategy is smart collaborations. So I'll do some shout outs, but first I wanted to brag a little bit. I think for the record, we sold the most pizzas that Schroeder's ever sold at the event.
Awesome. That's great.
But no, so we collaborate with a lot of businesses. Sorry if I'm forgetting anybody, but I think the most important to our business have been the Schroeder's businesses, the Schroeder's Market. We have such a tight connection with them, and we marry together brilliantly. We also do a fair bit of business with private chefs in the area, and I don't know if you two have heard of Taste Toscana before.
Oh, yes. I follow them on Instagram. They make some great stuff.
So they're marvelous. They're authentic Italian multi-course tasting menus at your home. They roll the dough out for you. Martha and Stefano, they're a couple. They'll come to your home, and we do a ton of business with them where we'll select wines to complement their various dishes. And weekly, people are coming in here asking what will go good with the various pastas that they're making, and we'll select interesting bottles off the shelf that will enhance their dinners at their homes.
That's really cool.
Yeah, that's another collaboration that's really important to us. And lastly, I know this is kind of like a Brunswick podcast, but on St. Simons, have you both been to Dorothy's before?
Yes, love it.
I have not yet.
Okay, well, you need to go.
Okay, definitely need to check that out.
Our very first wine dinner collaboration was at Dorothy's. And basically, we partner with different restaurants and hotels, all help with the service and the selection of the wines, work with the chefs. and Dorothy's was the first one before we even opened our doors that collaborated with us. So that was a big help. And Daniel Offenberg is the owner there. They've got a brilliant program, just outstanding.
Yeah. I'll shout out to Dorothy's too, because we've eaten dinner there a number of times, and the raw bar, if anyone likes that, is amazing.
Yes.
And we've never been disappointed in what we've ordered there. And of course, the wine selection is really, really good.
Yeah.
But even if you're not a wine drinker, their bar menu is phenomenal too.
I gotta check that out. So that's gonna be on my bucket list to check out, because I haven't been there yet.
Yeah, highly recommend.
And one thing I find interesting, since we're talking about food and wine, is the pairing of food and wine. I'm going to be honest on this podcast. I'm not a big wine drinker, and I'm actually excited for this podcast because I'm hoping to learn some more interesting facts about wine and wine tasting. But I always found it interesting, wine pairing. Do you know the science behind that, or like how that all works?
There is science behind it. There's general rules of thumb that can help you broadly navigate pairing. Let's just talk about like Taste Toscana, for instance. They say what grows together goes together for wine pairing. So like, just say you have like a truffle dish, something like this, truffle pasta. Truffles, a lot of them are famously grown in Piedmont in northwest Italy, and they're famous for a grape called Nebbiolo, and that just happens to be the most insane pairing with truffles. But they grow right next to each other. There's simple rules like that, and then there's the more kind of like structural analysis of the wine, of how high is the acidity versus the dish, how rich are the tannins. Like, for instance, this is a really, just for the podcast listeners, we're drinking, we've got a nice Cooler Ruprecht, the producer. It's a Pinot Noir from Germany. We're big fans of Pinot Noir from Germany at the shop at Newcastle. This would not make for a good steak pairing. With steak, you want really chewy tannins, and they'll get absorbed into that fatty ribeye. If you have a Pinot Noir like this is actually one of those rare opportunities that if we had, we're going to Dorothy's, we have like a nice salmon, something like that. These light, delicate tannins will be nice with a mild, like lightly seasoned piece of fish. So this is a rare red wine. There's like a misnomer that you can't drink red with fish. This would be that fish wine.
This would be the one that goes with that dish.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a fantastic wine, actually. It's very light and delicate, and I can see it going with fish or probably like an antipasto plate.
Certainly, yeah.
Something along those lines, or something, a nice light summer fare type of deal, because this is chilled a little bit too, isn't it?
Yeah, so I'm serving it to you guys cellar temp. So it's about, I pulled it out, it was about 55 degrees. Once you splash it in the glass, it warms up a little bit. But yeah, it's a little chilled. I think reds, depending on what they are, a slight chill can really enhance the pleasurability of the experience.
So let's take a step back, because you said you're a sommelier.
Certainly, yeah.
How does one become a sommelier? And because I know it's not a, there's very few sommeliers. It's a very difficult process, isn't it?
Yeah, I think there's a little bit of a misnomer with that as well. People often cite it as like one of the most difficult exams in the world, but through my lens, I think, I was in school originally for finance and did accounting classes and couldn't stand it. And so learning to become a sommelier was a thrilling experience for me. The various topics that you have to study, from history to agriculture to all the different countries involved, and it really was not a tough time for me. It is a difficult examination. The way that it works, just to kind of explain it, to become a certified sommelier, you get tested on 3 parts. So wine theory, that's just like wine law. Secondly, service etiquette. So a sommelier, first and foremost, somebody that works in restaurants typically. So you have to know how to do the pinky up fine dining service etiquette. And you get grilled by a master sommelier in a setting. where they barrage you with different questions and situations on the fly, and you have to react swiftly. And then lastly is blind tasting, which you might have heard of before. They put, depending on the exam, 6 wines in front of you and say, what are they? So you have to name the grape or grapes, vintage, the region, sub-region, as close as possible.
Wow.
I think, though the certified sommelier title is a nice post-nominal to have, what's really important in my industry is experience. So working in excellent restaurants is more important, I think, a lot of times than passing an exam. I was really blessed to be able to work at the Georgian Room at Sea Island. They have an 80-page wine list. It used to be the only 5-star restaurant in the state of Georgia. It was rated on Law List's top 1,000 restaurants in the world. And it was a thrilling experience to work with the wines that were open there every night. And then secondly, surrounding yourself with people that are more knowledgeable than yourself. So that gives you a huge boost.
So how long have you been into wines? Like, what got you into wines and to make it what you are today?
Yeah, so rejection was the beginning. So I was working in kind of a mediocre, sports bar, no wine program, drinking boxed wine recreationally, no interest in knowledge that the world of wine even existed. I couldn't tell you anything about it. I wanted to make some extra money by working in a fine dining restaurant, and the person sat me down and said, Brandon, can you name the 5 noble grapes of Bordeaux? And had no idea what they were referencing, didn't get the job, obviously. And that sparked a journey to learn about fine wine. And when I started learning about it, tasting the great wines of the world, it just was like a light switch. I immediately said, I'm dropping out of school for finance, and I'm going to become a certified sommelier and figure it out.
Wow, that's awesome. I'm glad you're here.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. I went from college out to Sonoma County. I drove cross country after I graduated, so I went from keg beer to wine country. Like we were talking before we got online, my only real experience was the jug of Gallo wine under. So I thought there was just a red wine and a white wine.
Mm-hmm. That's same thing. Growing up Italian, I just said, my father would be like, got the big, just like you, just the box of Orgallo wine, and I thought that's it, just red and white.
When I get out there and I start going to these wineries and you're tasting Merlots from different houses, from vineyards, different Zinfandels, which Zinfandel is my favorite wine of all time. I love a good peppery Zinfandel.
Sure, peppery, nice.
It's actually I had a glass of Ancient Peak 2001 with my dinner Monday night.
Wow.
I had a ribeye that was encrusted in an espresso, and it came across nice. The meat in the espresso kind of smoothed out some of the bitiness of the Zinfandel, so it made a really great pairing, and enjoyed both immensely. I was the last one to finish my dish because I was
just enjoying the
I was just
flavor.
enjoying it all.
Taking it slow.
But it was great because you had all this experience and at the time in Sonoma, you could just go into any winery and you can taste anything they have, and it's a free wine tasting class.
Sure.
Because they explain to you everything about the wine, where the grapes are from, what to taste for, how to taste. And they all have their own philosophies, and I got really, really into it.
I wonder how many of the listeners have had wines of the kind of category that you're describing, like library wines. You're talking about a wine that's now 20 years old. I have people in the shop. My windows are lined with some trophy bottles that are older, but that can be a really magical experience. And what's great is, you could have a birth year, you could have an anniversary year. You can find that bottle and you can open it, and it can be a time capsule. And if it's a great year, great producer, weather was just right, it can be a transformational experience. It can be really special.
What's the oldest bottle that you ever had?
I don't know that oldest is important. because it's all about capturing the Goldilocks zone.
Okay.
So
I've heard about that.
So it's all about catching the wine at its peak. The wines on the shelf right now are all transforming as we speak. They're slightly changing. They're not consistent. It's not like spirits.
Mm-hmm.
And beer, generally speaking, is declining.
Right.
You want it fresh. Wine, especially the wines that line the shop and the ones really that are in our coolers, are built to age. And some, drinking them without aging them for 5 years is sacrilegious. Some of the best experiences that come to mind, I was talking about surrounding yourself with great people. I had a great mentor. He's still around. I don't know why I said I had. But I used to live close by to him. His name's Wes. He was very generous. He's one of the most significant wine collectors in the country. And he has a lot of these perfectly aged wines. And I've drank many that were unfathomable, mythical bottles. And one that comes to mind is we had a 1966 Clos de Tart, which is a Pinot Noir, just like the one that's in our glass, but with some significant age. And what's magical about that experience is not that it's old. Mm-hmm. That's unique, and there's novelty in that. But wine's very delicate. If it's slightly warm, gets too cold, then it gets damaged. So light, movement, temperature, sensitive to all that. This bottle, for 50 years or so, was able to be perfectly stored, not moved around much, never got kissed by the sun. And then with all that happening for it, then the wine wasn't flawed. It could be flawed too. It could be something we couldn't control in the winery. And it's the winemaker's dream for it to get to that point and to be opened with the right people opening it, having a good time, and it to be just on point. So those are special opportunities. Unfortunately, it doesn't happen a lot.
So you do have unicorns out there in the wine world.
Oh yeah.
There's a lot of sadness, unfortunately, with opening old wine.
Well, I was about to mention that because my parents passed away, and when me and my sister were cleaning out the house, in the basement we found bottles of wine, and we're like, and some of them were pretty old. I don't remember any of the years, and so we're like, well, let's crack it open, right? And it was literally it looked like jelly, like pouring out. If it was not.
Yeah.
And it smelled so strongly of either ethanol or alcohol.
Certainly, yeah. Storage is really important. And I help a lot of people locally, kind of give them advice. There are people that consult with me and buy for aging, or even some people for investment. Some people look at it as an asset sometimes. So I'll help them protect their collection.
Wow, I never thought of it that way.
You go in some of these wineries, you can buy futures, which is future bottles, future barrels of the wine that they're basically growing on the vine right now. And it's an investment. It's kind of hedging your, like a hedge. You buy now because the price of that wine, when it's bottled, will probably increased by the time it comes out. So you'll see that in some wineries where they'll have up on a board futures, and that's what they're doing. It's really interesting kind of concept. And
this is a very rare situation that people are buying for investment, but it's also a really good excuse for buying wine. You could say,
yep.
Well,
that's like gold. That's like buying gold coins. It's like you got the gold, but I also like to collect coins, so it's an investment.
Yeah, and a lot of the wines in the shop, the reason that theoretically it's kind of speculative, but the reason that they improve with time is that we focus on really small wineries that have very limited production. So some of the bottles in the shop, they make, not hundreds of cases, but like hundreds of bottles in a certain year. So there's very limited supply, and then guess what? We're drinking them. So every year there's less and less. So the supply and demand ratio is in your favor in terms of the values of the wine, at least for the ones that are supposed to be increasing in value.
So people coming into the shop, now that you've had this for about a year, do you find that a lot of people coming in are kind of you're educating more people about it? You have a good mix of customers. Some people come in kind of knowing what they're looking for, and other people come in kind of needing some help and explaining, kind of novices.
So that question is a really good question. I think that wine is very convoluted. I'm not ignorant of that. It's Anthony Bourdain famously said that he didn't want to mess with it because he was nervous about like becoming obsessed with it because it's so intricate.
Mm-hmm.
I've spent a decade passionately learning about wine as viciously as I can, and I haven't scratched the surface. So you really want to entrust with someone that help. And so the shop is great because you can come in, or if you haven't been, you might not know, but you can trust us, and we're going to set you up for success. And if you only know that you like white or red, that's just a great starting point.
Mm-hmm.
The wine bar is a great element because now you have more opportunities to taste. You can cherry pick flights if you just want to sit back, relax. We have preset like Spanish and Italian flights where you can taste through the great wines of Spain or Italy without making much choices. And to really prove how thirsty people are for wine knowledge in our specific Golden Isles area, I look to our wine club. I forecasted, little interest for people signing up for our wine club, and it's a huge community of everybody from novices to experts, and what they're all looking for is to learn. And the wine club, every month I write about why I'm excited about small production wineries, the grapes that they're producing. Your wine in the club could be from the Canary Islands off the coast of Africa, could be from Mount Etna, active volcano on Sicily.
Mm-hmm.
There's lots of really fun stuff in the world of wine, and people want to know about that. And they trust me to make the selections. And they want to go to wine dinners or parties at people's houses, and they say, I got this wine from the Canary Islands, isn't that so cool? And the wine club, I learned that it smells like tobacco, and you really need to try this. So people are really excited to share the knowledge that they get from things like the wine club.
So I got a question. Speaking about getting the wines from Canary Island, from Mount Etna, how do you find the wines?
So it's a long process that can't be replicated overnight. So over my career, bottle by bottle, I taste through wines, and I figure out what's good, what's not. You can't really trust the reviews online, 90 points, whatever. That's all pretty much meaningless. What's great about this shop is we're pure. I own the business 100%. There's nobody swaying my views. Mm-hmm. I'm tasting stuff. If I don't like it, I tell them get lost. If it's really good stuff, I'm going to buy as much as I can, get my hands on, and tell you this is something you need to try. And so it's a process. I think that's what makes a great retail shop or a great restaurant is if they do have somebody in charge of the beverage program, they're doing the hard work, hopefully, to get rid of all the what I would call like landmines, stuff that's like just overpriced or doesn't actually taste good. They're buying it because they got a deal on it or something. We completely ignore all those situations. We're all about just bringing you the finest possible.
So now, do you have? Trying to wrap my mind around it. So do you have like a distributor, or do you have? I'm not sure what the technical term is for people that sell wine.
Sure.
But do you have like different people that come in and say, "Hey, I got this, case of different wines for you to try, for you to buy"? Is that kind of how it works?
Absolutely. So there are distributors that sell wine. We work with like 14 of them, which I believe is all that we can work with in the state of Georgia. And that's what makes us really unique. If you buy from like one distributor or two or three, you can get good deals. Your life is easier. There's less people to interact with. We chose the most difficult path possible, the most time consuming and less optimal path. But it gives our consumers the widest access to the most array of wines that you can get. And that's really unparalleled in our area just because it's a lot more work. And they do taste with me. And I've been in the Golden Isles for 6 years now, and so they know who I am. When I was at Sea Island, I was a really big buyer. Now I'm still a significant player, but they know me from my history of buying with them, what I like, what I don't like. And we're really lucky to work really intimately with maybe like 4 to 6 of them, and the rest, they have a couple wines we like. But there's some really great, just the way that we're a small boutique wine shop, there's some really small boutique distributors like Bonvin, Avant Partir, Specialty, Reef Gauche, that are doing the Lord's work, essentially.
Yeah, because I could see, I'm looking at your shelf, there's a wide variety of different labels that I see.
Yeah, that's a big part of our store, is we're unique in the way that how many individual labels we have. So we want you to drink better, and by doing that, we're bringing labels to the Golden Isles for the first time ever. We have, in my opinion, been deprived of access to wine for a long time out here. And Atlanta would get really good access, and none of it would really get shipped out to the coast. We're working to change that. We've been open for a year, and we've had roughly 700 individual labels, completely different wines, not vintages, new wines, and many of those, I don't know the actual number, but we'll just say like maybe 50-60% have never even seen the Golden Isles before, ever. So the people drinking them here, there's no way they could have had them unless they had a house in Manhattan or Chicago or something like that. So we're very proud of that fact, and that's not fishing in a barrel. We got to teach and tell them that this is a great wine. It's not going to just sell. Nobody's going to come in the shop and go, oh my gosh, this, whatever it is on the shelf, I need it.
Like, I've never seen this label before. It's pretty. I'm going to go buy it.
That's what I love about Newcastle Wine Merchant, is because you can't find these wines anywhere else, really. And that's what makes it really, really special. And don't be intimidated, people. Come on in. Brandon is great. He's very knowledgeable. Can really help you pick out a wine that you're looking for. And that's what I like, because I haven't seen a lot of these labels, and we've been in here quite a bit. And I will ask, and we've never been disappointed.
Yeah, so let me give you like a little example. So the wine buying from a consumer point of view, if you know how to ask these questions or say these things, your life in a restaurant or retail store is going to be significantly better. So when you come in, you need to figure out, what you're willing to spend, any details at all in terms of if you're buying for somebody or yourself. It doesn't have to be, we're not looking for you to impress upon us your wine knowledge. We're here to help you. So we're not here to judge you at all. So if you say, I'm looking for a rosé, I got $20 today, can you give me some suggestions? And this is the same for the restaurant. You just want them to know, what is the budget? What are we working with in terms of your preferences? And the more details, the better. The more we can zoom in and really make sure we're getting the best option for you. And if you develop a relationship with like a little tiny shop like us, it's like, you both have probably been into a Home Depot and then like a little like tiny, shop. And you develop a relationship if you go into the little tiny, yard shop, or the guy knows, oh, hey, welcome back, and oh, you got this, you're working on your yard, you're working on your flowers, like I got the perfect thing to spruce them up. Same thing, I'm going to remember, oh, you had last time, a crisp white. Yeah. What do you think of that? Not really. I'm thinking I like fuller bodied whites, or I love that. Can we do something different that's similar to that? And so each time you come in, it's going to get better and better dramatically once we hone in exactly what you love.
That's what I love about small businesses. Being like, even with the Schroeders, like I walk in there and Roland, Keith, Maddie, Savannah, they all know you. They all say hi. I always thought of wine like as a, not scary, like drinking it, but just the whole process. Like, when you go to like a, big supermarket and there's like wine everywhere and you're like, but just talking to you and seeing this, it's not a scary process in choosing out a wine.
Sure. And another thing too is we offer complimentary consulting. So if you say we need a mixed case of reds, they're $15 for a party. People do that all the time, and they're tasting through great wines. Oh my gosh, what is this? Like opening bottles, sharing. So you don't even really have to, it can be as simple as that. And I think that's why the wine club is so exceptionally successful, is people are just sitting back, relaxing. They pick up a bag every month. There's not any decision making that has to be had.
So how does someone get into the wine club?
So right now we are on a wait list, actually.
Oh,
so,
that's
wow.
good. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. So we actually introduced a new tier to our wine club. Our wine club's called Ne Plus Ultra, means no further beyond. But we had to add a new wine club. How do you do that when your wine club's called No Further Beyond?
Right.
So yeah, we were in a tricky situation.
Infinity and beyond.
So we named it Ne Plus Plus Ultra. So 2 pluses.
Nice.
Or plus plus for short. So that one we just opened for the public and are already customers that are already available to upgrade in the wine club. They can upgrade to that or sign up. It's a new rollout. It's going to be limited. And you just have to come in the shop, save a card to file, and it's done. That's it. You get a bag, you get that we custom screen print, and 3 bottles will be waiting for you every month. We have a team of sommeliers, so it's not just me. My brother is actually a certified sommelier. He's the Georgian Room sommelier. Can't say enough about him. He's a prodigy. And he helps with the curation process.
Nice.
And then we also give our wine club members free tickets to our wine festivals or wine fetes every year. So we have 2 wine festivals. We just had one. Roughly like 200 people attended.
Wow.
And the number of people is not important. It's the quality of people. I mean, the quality of people that shop with us, I'm just stunned. I don't know why we got so lucky with the people that walk in the doors, but just the best people, the most talented people in the aisle, the best looking.
We try. So I love this location. What made you decide to choose this location on Newcastle?
So I think this would be a good segue to like highlight my wife. So my wife is a luxury like wedding photographer in the area, extremely talented. And she assists us in a great way. She leads our marketing, branding, strategy, and e-commerce. Like I could go down a huge list. I was in kind of a tricky situation, transitioning jobs and looking for the location of what I was imagining a Newcastle wine merchant would be. And Priscilla loved downtown Brunswick, and I have to say, I just got to be honest, I wasn't sold on it at the time. And she kept saying, like, you got to go downtown. It's the right move. And it just takes me a little bit of time. A little stubborn. But basically, we came downtown. She liked a shop that was down here. That was the previous shop in this space. And we were there, and they were closing. And so it was like a light switch moment. I was like, I need to meet the landlord and see if there's a wait list or can I apply for it. And it was just perfect timing. I've always advertised downtown as being, there's a great brewery downtown called Silver Bluff. That was always my way I would start the conversation. Yeah. This looks directly at Silver Bluff, so I was like, this is just a no-brainer. Right. And the space has got that historic charm. You got the exposed brick. We have an extraordinary courtyard in the background, or the back that has beautiful jasmine and fig that were done by our landlords, the Herndons. A shout out to them. They believed in us from the start, and they're all about enhancing downtown. So I definitely owe a little bit to them for their belief in us and letting us rent the space.
And I love this space. I love the exposed wood beams. It's got some exposed brick up there. The space is beautiful. You feel almost transported when you walk in the door.
It's lovely, definitely. So one thing about, we've been talking about wines, and let's talk about the glass.
Glassware? Yeah. Okay.
a lot of people don't know this, and I actually own a couple of restaurants in the past, and
Oh, really?
and yeah, a couple of Italian restaurants, and I just sold very regular, standard, not cheap but nice Italian wines, mostly Cavit. I mean, bulk, and I would serve them in kind of a small, kind of a jar, kind of.
Certainly.
That's how when growing up, that you had the jelly.
No, yeah, the ball,
The
Yeah.
mason.
the mason jars.
Mason jars
Yeah.
or the jelly, and my mom cleaned it out. And that's what we drank out of. So that's what we had the wine in.
It's a judge-free zone here.
And I had a lot of people, or not a lot. I had one or two people who said, "I can't drink wine like this."
Huh? Yeah.
I'm like, I agree, but we're not talking about some very high end, very special. This is Cavit. They make this in bulk. You can drink this out of a Dixie cup if you want. It's not going to change the flavor. But there are different style or shapes to meet the different varieties of wines.
Yeah.
What, like the glass we have in front of us now, is that we consider that like a Cabernet kind of glass? Or?
Again, it's like you guys are on my payroll or something. You guys are setting me up for home runs. So we're drinking out of Gabriel glass, and my job at the wine shop is to take stuff that's really complicated, like glassware, and make it super digestible for you. So we were thinking very carefully about this, and we came to the conclusion that we wanted to buy one glass. We don't want, 17 different bulb shapes that are good for each grape, and you can't use them right now. It's not good. It's the wrong grape or region. Like, don't do that. You have a cabinet full of like all these like one-off glasses. One breaks. Oh, God,
right.
Now I only got one glass. So we wanted to simplify that, and so Gabriel Glass is an Austrian brand. They make a universal glass, is what they call it. So they perfected a single glass. There's no gimmicks, which I really like, and that's kind of like the way I view things with wine too. I don't like gimmicks or anything, and it's very straightforward. They made a perfect glass. It's got a beautiful kind of like tulip shape at the bottom. It gets a little wider, so you can kind of stir around the wine, open it up. But their whole pitch is you have sparkling, white, rosé, red, any kind of red, heavy, light, medium. This is going to enhance them equally. So if you have guests over, you don't have to do a scrambling. I got to find my Cabernet glasses. And you don't have to worry about them discontinuing the line. So a lot of the glassware companies, they're all about starting a line, discontinuing it, so you have to buy the next one. Oh, we actually found the new best glass.
Who knew? Like this, all this stuff boggles my mind. Like who knew that, drinking out of this glass will actually enhance the flavors?
So it is a pretty dramatic difference. I wish I could get up maybe after the podcast. I'll give you like a plastic cup and the wine glass. But this not only aerates the wine, but then it pushes the wine towards your nose. It curves nicely, so you're getting the aroma, but not too concentrated, but not too spread out where it's just flying out of the glass. And then the way it hits your tongue, it's not too straight down the middle. It's not too wide. It hits it just right, so you're getting like the perfect amount of flavor and structure. And you wouldn't really know that unless you tasted out of a different glass, which I'm sorry for not setting you up with a flight of glasses, but just trust me on this.
No, I believe you. So it's that's amazing that
and we're the sole ambassador for this product. It's not sold anywhere else. They only work with like very hyper specific restaurants and wine bars and retail shops, and we sell them. And they've had extraordinary success just because it is like just very straightforward. It enhances the wine. Everything works.
So that being said, customers can come in and purchase the glasses.
That's correct.
Cool. That's awesome.
They're wonderful glasses.
I know this. Like you're opening up my eyes to wine. Like honestly, on any day I wouldn't just walk by and look at this bottle and just like, oh, it's a cool looking bottle, but
It does have a really nice label,
It
right?
does.
Like Family Crest is really, for people that can't see the ornate label, it's I would even say the name, but you probably can't even spell it.
No.
If you Googled it. So,
yeah.
But yeah, come in the shop. I'll prove it to you. It's a good looking label.
It's a beautiful looking bottle, and it's an even better tasting wine. I would have just walked by and not even thought twice about this. But
yeah, and so you're taking the first step. So this is the hardest step. Walking into the door, buying your first bottle, putting it in the glass, tasting it. Everything gets easier from there. We're all about converting people to help them drink better. And something we haven't really talked about too is you haven't felt the after effects of this wine yet, but we focus on producers that are sustainable, organic, low or no additives. So the wines are extremely pure. So these are not going to beat you up in the same way that some of the more mass-produced wines are gonna, and that's a really big factor for some people. Some people say, I can't drink wine, I feel terrible, and I would challenge them to try a bottle from our shop and see how they feel within reason.
Yeah. I get that a lot. I talk to people like, I can't drink red wine because I get terrible headaches. I know if I drink certain red wines, my nose gets stuffy.
Sure.
Doesn't stop me from drinking it. But there is, some people do react differently in certain ways. But when you talk about organic and sustainable, and most of these wines are coming over from Europe where they're not really messed with too much.
So that is a really big deal. Is the equivalent of like the FDA in Europe is much stricter, and so just therefore that's already a plus. And then they're not as capitalistic in terms of thinking. They're not trying to optimize the most profits they can get out of the wines. A lot of times, also to give the domestic producers a little bit of a break, is they're inheriting estates that have been passed on for many generations. So there's not as many costs if you're starting a winery in California, especially nowadays. So seems impossible almost how expensive it would be.
Yeah, and what is the best way that wine gets shipped? Is it through sea cargo or through air? What do you? Does it affect like the quality?
Yeah, so that's really important because we live in Georgia, and that's a really big selling point to this business. Is people might think, well, I can just like shop online and like ship it from New York or California or whatever from a retail shop, but in that transit, unless you're paying some ridiculous sum of money to make sure it's on a refrigerated truck personally, it's probably 6+ months out of the year gonna be a huge risk of being damaged in transit, and that's just like not acceptable. So most people, if they're smart, won't ship wine half the year in Georgia, and the best way is to buy from like a retail shop, because all of our wines are coming from distributors with huge refrigerated trucks, or if it's coming from overseas, refrigerated ships.
Containers,
yeah.
Yes, I belong to a couple of wine clubs out of California. They will not ship to Georgia during the summertime.
Yeah, and so that the this is not important to everybody, but provenance is super important, and so if you feel like you're getting too good of a deal wine-wise, there's like auctions online and all sorts of discount stores and stuff on the internet. Typically, it's for a reason. The provenance is not good, and the wine in our glass has been perfectly stored, and it's drinking exactly how it should. If you're having a wine that's been damaged, it's not worth anything really. Like, might as well just pour Coca-Cola on top of it and some ice. It's
and some ice cream.
Yeah, it's pretty much worthless. So you think you're getting a deal by getting a little discount, but it's honestly, it's much more important to pay $1 or $2 more to get perfect provenance than to get like a theoretical deal.
Right. Wow.
So do you have any like wild wine experiences? Like, something that really stands out in your memory that happened that's funny or just absolutely crazy? Or
I mean, put me on the spot there. I mean, there's definitely been working in the service industry. There's been lots of, interesting moments with guests, and there's definitely been extraordinarily rare unicorn bottles opened. It's really hard to say. I mean, the things that stand out to me is travel. So if you haven't been to like wine country before, I think that, even if you're not into wine, that might be enough to completely get you bitten by the wine bug, because the wine growing regions of the world are situated in some of the most serene locations on earth. And the farmers, generally speaking, are some of the kindest people. And my trips that I've experienced going to France, like I honeymooned last year to Champagne and Burgundy, it's really impossible to even describe what that's like in terms of the purity of the experience. You feel like you're being transported back in time to the dark ages, but the wine's better tasting.
So what is your favorite region to visit? Is it France or Italy, Germany?
Yeah, so I have a really great affinity for French wines, and Burgundy and Champagne are my favorites. Champagne is not like a lovely area in terms of what it looks like and what's available in terms of restaurants. It's kind of a desolate area. It's very cold, and I always say that doesn't matter because the cellar temperature is always the same. So once you go in the cellar, it's always going to be cold. But Burgundy is, you're surrounded by an amphitheater of vines, and there's not a billboard or condo for, ever. It's just pure, just magical everything. So Burgundy is the best, period.
Wow.
If you can go to Burgundy, it's super worth it.
Yeah, one of my bucket list trips is actually go to Germany, so I might have to visit the winery that this came from.
Yeah, Kohler Ruprecht, they're in the Pfalz, so they're actually close to France. It's actually on the border of France where Alsace is. The other side of it's the Pfalz.
Okay.
So you could do both.
Yeah, I can visit. And then with the EU, it's just back and forth.
Yeah, I have a question for you guys. So what do you think that you're seeing the kind of more and more things opening downtown? What do you want out of downtown? What do you want to see open?
That's one of our big questions we've been asking a lot of people.
Yeah. For me, I know we have Silver Bluff, and they produce excellent beer, but I would like to see another craft brewery open up.
Certainly.
If not, something like the Growler Factory that's on St. Simon's. That would be a nice added touch down here. I would actually like to see, I know you have the BAT, the Brunswick Actors Theater, you have the Ritz, but I would like to see another type of either music venue or arts or theater venue open up. Because I feel when you have something like that, you draw people in here. So if you had a nice music venue, but I have to give a shout out to Brandon Priest. He did open up a music venue called The Hinge, but I believe it's on 2nd Street. I'm going to butcher the street it's on. But I would like to see something on Newcastle, a nice music venue where you can get some bigger names in.
Certainly.
Nothing against local musicians. My son is one of them. But it'd be nice to get, some nicer known bands where you can have maybe people from Jacksonville drive up or people from Savannah come down to that music venue. I
think there's a thirst for live music, obviously. It seems like on First Friday there's 6+ bands playing simultaneously.
Yeah.
So obviously there's something there.
Yeah. There's definitely something to be said about live music at a music venue.
And I agree with everything you said. I'm going to add one thing that I would love to see in downtown is a really good Italian restaurant. A really good Italian restaurant. Mm-hmm. Maybe with a little bit of an Italian market.
Do you hear that, Taste Toscana?
Yes, Taste Toscana. I do follow you on Instagram. And I would actually love to sit down and cook with those guys. Because I love cooking Italian, although, I'm known for cheesecakes.
Right.
But my first love is cooking Italian. I make my own pasta. I make my own sauce. I make my own meatballs.
Mm.
But I think there's a lot of people coming down from the Northeast, and there's a specific way that we enjoy our Italian food.
Yeah, I'm one of them.
And having a really good Italian restaurant, maybe with a little bit of an Italian market on the side, where you can get imported cheeses, imported meats, freshly baked Italian bread, some homemade pasta, sauce in a jar that they can take with them.
So I mean, this might be a little ruthless, but what do you think about the grocery store situation in the area? Is it delivering for you? Do you desire more?
I know Schroeder's Market did fill in that gap. And they're doing a wonderful job with that. But yeah, I could see something bigger trying to come in would be nice.
Yeah, I'm more regarding like a fresh market, Whole Foods.
Yeah.
I would like to
something
see
that.
a Whole Foods, even Trader Joe's.
Trader Joe's. I didn't mention that, but that would be insane.
I thought
One thing that people may not know is that Aldi is supposed to be taking over Winn-Dixie.
Oh wow.
So if you haven't noticed, they've already closed all the pharmacies that are in the Winn-Dixie stores. There's 3 Winn-Dixie stores that had pharmacies. They've been closed. They're expecting Aldi to take over, so Aldi is supposed to be coming in, and I think they're going to change a couple of the stores to be actually Aldi stores and leaving the rest as Winn-Dixie, but that's coming in. But I would love to see like a Whole Foods or a Trader Joe's or something like that
yeah,
here.
there was a rumor at one time that Trader Joe's was looking at downtown. That was way before COVID.
I mean, I see that there's a lot of building going on, and I would assume there's got to be justification coming soon. Like if I had to guess, I mean, something's got to pop up soonish.
Yeah, I would hope to, because I love, and I've been here now for about 11 years, and I've watched downtown grow from just being just Tipsy's to what it is now, and I love the direction that it's going, and having something like that type of food market, another craft brewery, just something to keep. I love First Fridays. But the thing for me about First Fridays is I don't like the fact that that's the only time a lot of people get drawn down here.
Sure.
There's got to be something I feel that needs to draw people down here every single day or every single night.
Yeah, and a more variety of options for people to come down here for things would be a huge thing. What would you, Brandon? What would you like to see down here?
Yeah, so I think also just taking a time to think about what you were saying about Brunswick and how it's changing is something that I've kind of analyzed is this is a rare time opportunity where the landscape is able to be moldable and shaped and defined. Brunswick, in my opinion, doesn't really currently have a identity almost, and I think that's a good thing. It has the opportunity, to be just another city, and there's a rare moment in time that we're experiencing right now where if the right people move into spaces that have the right dreams, that Brunswick can be really unique and special and be quite a cool thing. And it's I think it's going in that direction currently, and I just hope that momentum continues and there isn't any things that off track that, because right now I think it's in a really nice period of time where really cool stuff's happening. And that momentum I anticipate drawing more cool stuff to come.
No, I 100% agree with that. It's a mature community, but it's also growing. So you have people who've been here for an extended period of time or all their life, but there's more people coming in.
Yeah.
And they're the ones that are really craving a lot of the stuff that is happening now, like the First Fridays.
Well, I love the word that you said, craving. I really love that, because I think some areas get stuck in kind of like accepting mediocrity or this is the way it's always been. And here, the sky's the limit. Like if we say this is how it's going to be, like we can make that the case. I think being somebody that really has been kind of starved in terms of I want better quality of food from grocery and restaurants. I think, we've mentioned Schroeder's a bunch of times. I think they're doing a good job of pushing the needle in the right direction, but we need to ramp that up, like even, whatever the next setting is or a multitude. I would love to see more. It could even be stuff from them, but French, Indian, Greek, Mediterranean,
Yes.
oyster bar. There's a bajillion concepts. I really just don't want to see more of the old. And I think what Frank was saying about craving, I really love that the area specifically is craving for more. They're not okay with the status quo. They're like, this is good, but like we can keep doing better.
Yes.
That's great.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree. Especially on the food point. I'm a foodie.
Yeah.
And you talked about Italian restaurants. I'm extremely picky. Because both my parents are from Italy, and my mom cooked. My grandmother cooked Italian food. My mom cooked Italian food. So when I go to this is funny, but when I go to an Italian restaurant, I actually order either chicken parm or eggplant parm, because that is my test.
Yeah.
If you can make a good eggplant parm or chicken parm, then you win. Like I'll come back to you. But if you don't know how to make something simple like an eggplant parm or chicken parm, then you should. I'm sorry, maybe you should chose a different type of food to serve.
Sure. Yeah. Sometimes simplicity is the best. Less is more.
Yeah.
And that goes for wines too.
Yep. No, absolutely. I agree. I'm the same way. If I'm trying a new place, I usually go with something really basic, really simple to do. Just if they can nail that, then we'll be back and I'll do something different maybe. But this area is craving more. I'd like to see more, and I think the business development in Georgia, the Brunswick business development, economic development people that are I think working really hard to do some of these things. And hopefully that we can bring in some more stuff. And I know Newcastle is kind of finite in what they have for buildings, but Brunswick is big. There's 3 exits. There's a lot of places. As long as it's easy to get in and out of, I think that's one of the biggest things is accessibility to a business. I've seen a lot of good restaurants and good stores close because it's really hard to get in or out or in and out of that particular piece of property because of traffic or the way it's situated.
I think right now we're extremely blessed. I think looking back, maybe we'll say like this was something that, it used to be like this.
Yeah.
But like with no paid parking, an enormous amount of parking available that's free and super walkable is really special, and I appreciate that because I know what the other cities are like that are around us, and they don't mirror this.
No. Whoops. I almost dropped that. Shh, don't tell anybody.
Nice catch.
Nice catch. I was actually about to say, like, yesterday, me and my wife ate at Bubba's, and then after we ate, we walked around for a good 20 minutes. We went up, turned around, walked all the way down to the Ritz, and then we just walked because it's just such a beautiful place to walk.
Sure. There's a lot of character.
Yeah. Yeah, I love it. Now, have you seen, since opening up, have you seen influx of people that don't normally visit downtown just to come?
Yeah, so I don't know what's causing that specifically, but I do know for certain that more people are on the internet pulling off saying we're going to stop in Brunswick. This looks like a really cute area. Than before, even for how long I've been here. So a lot of people will be like, "Oh, are you local?" I'm like, no, I'm driving to Florida, or I'm going to the other way, Pennsylvania. Or we just couldn't help but stop, take a little day trip here, stay at the Crest.
Wow.
Have you guys been to the Crest?
No, I have not been in there yet.
No, actually, I haven't either.
Have you even seen the rooms?
No.
No. Are they nice?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I mean, so we treated ourselves a little bit. We just had a 1-year anniversary, so my wife and I, we said, we'll do a little staycation in Brunswick. You go in there and you get transported. You're not in Brunswick anymore. It's the ceilings are unfathomably high. The windows are equally impressive in terms of their length, and they're set up like apartments. So, it's or ornamental rugs, exceptional woodwork. I mean, it's, for somebody that's looking for a little vacation that's not too expensive, but they want to live like a king, queen. I mean, stand at the Crest. I mean, it's hard to beat.
Yeah, we'll have to check it out, see if maybe they want to do on the
Do a
podcast.
podcast.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, that's something Shannon and I have always talked about, doing like staycations or small little overnights here and there. Because there's a lot in this area, not just in Brunswick, but, you go down a little south to Kingsland and St. Mary's. And so there's great places to explore. Brunswick is definitely a great place to explore because there's great places to eat, drink, obviously drink, and just shop.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, I love downtown. I mean, I love the way that it's grown. I love to see what the future is going to bring for it, and I am happy that you are here. This is a wonderful, beautiful shop, and thank you for being on our podcast.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Oh, it was a blast. This has been, I've been waiting for this for 2 weeks.
Yeah, you have. That's all he's been talking about is wanting to be on this podcast. And hopefully this podcast grows. We just, doing this out of hobby, but also to highlight small businesses and like your business and other businesses and what you are doing to the community and making downtown a great place to visit and live.
Absolutely. It's the way Brunswick has grown, just the vibrancy of Newcastle from what it was even 9 years ago, has really kind of inspired us to kind of do something like this because we want more people to know about it.
Yeah, I mean, to fast forward to where we're drinking Cooler Ruprecht's Spätburgunder out of a Gabriel glass on a random night. Doing a podcast, I mean, that says a lot about Brunswick's evolution.
Yes, it does. It does. This has been amazing. Thank you so much once again for having.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So this is G-Man signing off.
And it's Buddha.
Signing off as well.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.